Lesson 23: Gender Inequality in Marriage and Criminal Laws. Lesson Objectives: This module discusses presence of gender inequality in marriage and criminal laws. This also tackles the proposed same-sex marriage legislations. At the end of this module, you're expected to understand fully gender inequality in marriage and criminal laws, determine the status of gender inequality in selected provisions of these laws, and assess provisions on the proposed same-sex marriage legislations. Introduction: Marriage laws in the Philippines are only based on sex and not on gender. Diri sa Pilipinas, ang marriage laws kay gabase ilang sa sex, dili sa gender. In the 1987 Philippine Constitution, marriage is stated as an inviolable social institution, is the foundation of the family and shall be protected by the state. Under the Family Code, marriage is defined as a special contract of permanent union between a man and woman entered into in accordance with law for establishment of conjugal and family life. Sa ato pa sa under the Family Code, marriage is defined sa special contract of permanent union between sa babae ug sa lalaki entered into in accordance with law. The fact that specific law provides marriage only for a man and a woman causes solutions of homosexual relationship as it only accommodates heterosexual ones. This deprives members of the LGBTQ of this constitutionally enshrined right afforded supposedly to every Filipino. Kaya naman, that specific law provides marriage only para lang sa lalaki ug sa babae. Apart from martial laws, various personal laws present this picture inequality in its provision. The crime of adultery presents harsher requisites than the crime of the concubinage. Article 333 and 334 Revised Penal Code. Vagrants and prostitutes pertain only to women. Article 202 of Revised Penal Code. Gender equality issues on night work prohibition. Article 130 of the Labor Code. Disputable presumption. Rule 131 section of the Rules of the Court and removal of criminal liability for rapists under Republic Act 8353 should be visited. The primacy of the decision of the husband and father or father. Under the Article 14 of the Family Code of the Philippines, it is provided that Article 14 in case of either or both of the contracting parties not having been emancipated by a previous marriage are between the age of 18 and 21, they shall, in addition to the requirements of the preceding articles, exhibit to the local registrar the consent to their marriage of their father, mother, surviving parent or guardian, or persons having legal charge of them in the order mentioned. Such consents shall be manifested on writing by the interested party who personally appears before the proper proper local civil register or in the form of affidavit made in the presence of two witnesses and attested before any official authorized by law to administer oaths. The personal manifestation shall be recorded in both applications for marriage license and the affidavit, if one is executed instead, shall be attached to said applications. Sama sa Article 14, in this case of either or both the contracting parties not having been emancipated sa previous na between age of 18 and 21, on the administration and enjoyment of community, proper or conjugal partnership, Articles 96 and 124 of the Family Code provide that Article 96, the administration and enjoyment of the community property shall belong both spouses jointly. In case of disagreement of the husband, decision shall prevail, subject to recourse to the court by the wife for proper remedy, which must be availed of within 5 years from the date of the contract implementing such decision. Article 124. The administration and enjoyment of conjugal partnership shall belong both spouses jointly. In case of disagreement, the husband decision shall prevail, subject to recourse to the court by the wife for proper remedy, which must be availed of within 5 years from the date of the contract implementing such decision. On the exercise of parental authority over the personal and legal guardianship over the property of common children. Article 221 and 225 of the Family Code state that in the Article 96, the donation and enjoyment of the community property shall belong to spouses jointly. In case na disagreement sa husband decision kay mag-prevail. Sa Article 124 naman, the administration and enjoyment of conjugal partnership shall belong both spouses jointly. In case ang disagreement na decision sa husband kay mag-prevail gihapon. Article 211. The father and the mother shall jointly exercise parental authority over the persons of their common children. In case of disagreement, the father's decision shall prevail unless there is a judicial order to the contrary. So, kita naman na ang lalaki, ang father jud ang may kusog sa mga anak. Article 225. The father and the mother shall jointly exercise legal guardianship over the property of the unemancipated common child without the necessity of the court appointment. In case of disagreement, the father's decision shall prevail unless there is judicial order to contrary. Sa Article 225 naman, murag same na sila pero gamay na nabago gyapon. Unemancipated common child. Higher her burden on women, wives, and men husband. The crimes of adultery and concubinage include the concept of marital infidelity. Adultery involves a wife who engages into sexual intercourse with a man, not her husband. On the other hand, concubinage involves a husband who has one sexual intercourse with a woman, not his wife, under scandalous circumstances. Two, keep another woman in the conjugal home, or three, cohabiting with another woman in another dwelling. Here for the crime of adultery, to be proven, the mere sexual intercourse with a man, not her husband, will suffice. In contrast, for the crime of adultery, the sexual intercourse must be committed under scandalous circumstances, not a mere sexual intercourse. So, dere, ang crimes sa adultery and concubinage include sa concept of marital infidelity. Adultery involves daw sa wife who engage in a sexual intercourse with a man, not her husband. Kaya mag-cheat ang babae sa lalaki na dili niya bana. The wife is an adultery case incurs a higher penalty than that for the erring husband in concubinage. A penalty if imprisonment, it also impossible on paramour in adultery, but only the penalty of desterro or banishment falls on the concubinage in on the concubine in concubinage. Ang asawa sa ang asawa na nasa adultery case incurs na mas taas ang penalty kesa sa iring husband in concubinage lamang. Forgiveness clause in the crime of rape, Republic Act 8353 for the anti-rape law. The anti-rape law, Republic Act 8353, contains a clause that can easily exonerate the offender and can further endanger the victim. Ang Public Act 8353 or mas kilala sa anti-rape law, a contest clause na can easily exonerate the offender and can further endanger the victim. In the law, it was stated that subsequent valid marriage between the offender and the offended party shall extinguish the criminal action of the penalty imposed. This gives an easy way out of the offender, which does not bar him from committing the crime. This gives a easy no kagawas tayo ng offender, which does not bar him naman sa paghimo sa crime. Further, it also recognizes that if the offender is the legal husband, the subsequent forgiveness by the wife who is the offender party shall extinguish the criminal action of the penalty. The perpetuates believes under the should of marriage vision perpetuate this kind of abuses for a long period of time. Exclusion definition of prostitution. Article of 202 on Revised Penal Code, amended by Republic Act Number 10158, retain the decades-old definition of prostitute as women who, for money or profit, habitually engage in sexual intercourse or lascivious conduct. Article of 202 Revised Penal Code, amending Act nasa 10158, retain the decades-old definition of a prostitute or merang or bayadan na bae who, for money or profit, nahabit nila ang pag-sex, intercourse, or lascivious conduct nahabit imo na yun lang trabaho ng pag-sex sa nilalagay para makakwarta sila. Following this definition, a man who peddles sex whilst asks for profit is in effect invisible in the eyes of law, thus making the actor thereof immune to imprisonment. Ang ang lalaki na naadiri kay ma-immune sa pagkapriso. Summary: the Family Code, which contains marital laws and provisions, include provisions which depict gender inequality. Legislations on same-sex marriage are good initiatives to address the issues on gender inequality and marital laws. Criminal laws are not that different as clearly some provisions therein favor the male sex over the female sex, whereas these pertain to crime involving penalty and for imprisonment. That's all. Thank you.